And when I look back at what I talked about as many years ago, that's about 3 years ago, I don't know how many years ago, I gave a series of lectures on Amitabha Sutra. And it's been quite a while ago. Maybe let me tie what I was talking about on there to this question. How is it accepted that if we die, we will be reincarnated into different forms? The six paths of reincarnations. And also when we say we will be reincarnated, when we say we will be reincarnated, there seems to be an active and a passive voice in there. We will be, it seems to be arbitrarily forced into reincarnation. Nobody forced you into reincarnation. Your own karma carry you to reincarnation. It's just like nobody attracts you to the gambling house. You walk there. Don't say, somebody will force me into the gambling house. Somebody will force me into addiction of drugs. You yourself walk into it. So when you say, we'll be reincarnated, maybe we'll have to cut this clear. It's not God who reincarnates you. It's not devil who reincarnates you. You do it yourself. Okay, so we will reincarnate in the 6 forms depending on part of the body. The soul exits the physical body form. Has there been any past historical events that has allowed this claim, reincarnation based on soul exit location, to be accepted? I think when you say soul, it's S-O-U-L, not S-O-L-E. But anyway, I know what it means. So one of the questions say is really, how do you know the soul exits the body? Is there any historical data? Is there any scientific proof that the soul actually exits the body? When a person is dying, how do you know that soul is going to heaven or to hell or to the animals realm or to the humans realm or in the ghost realm? How do we know? Since about 1,800 years ago, there has been so many events recorded in Chinese. And there's a thick book about that thick. Thousands of cases of people at the verge of death showing some near-death experiences, coming back again, or actually die and actually show some obvious or not so obvious miracles of where they're going, suggestions and all that. Many cases, thousands of cases in the Chinese language is called 净土圣贤录, 记录的录. That is, how do I translate it? A record of all those saints or non-saints who were born into the Pure Land. Records of them. And some of them were translated into English, some not. So we have a lot of cases to go by. Actual historical cases to go by. And let's put that away and think about the Western society, the Western culture. In the Western culture, we have a lot of cases about near-death experiences, about those who have been in heaven, about those who have already gone down to hell and they came back again. There's so many books written about that. And different authors, and they spend a lot of time in writing about those cases. And so many cases about reincarnation too, clinical cases performed by scientists, by doctors. One of the most famous one is Ian Stevenson, who conducted 3,000 cases of reincarnations of children, about reincarnations, about where they came from. So there's a lot of literature. There's a lot of literature on that. Now another question is, do I have to believe in those literature? It's the same as, do I have to believe in sutras spoken by the Buddha? Do I have to believe in the Bible about God? Do I have to believe in the Holy What is your basis of belief? How do you believe in something? So it can involve on and on and on. It needs a lot of discussions. How do you start to believe in something? What is your cognitive attitude in believing something? We can have a lot of discussions about this. Study the consciousness approach of Buddhism. Then you will know how your cognitive, your cognition recognize to believe in something. Based on what? When you believe in something, you have some basis to believe on. You have some basis on which you say, I believe this and I don't believe that, right? A lot of discussion is required on that. And I have talked about those already many, many times. And if you really want a good explanations on how people believe in things, get into a very profound school of thought of Buddhism, which is called Vijnanamatrata, the study of consciousness. Then you know how to believe in something, how to believe something to be true, what is the basis of belief, how does our mind works, and when our mind works, how does it interact with our senses, and how our senses interact with the outside world. All these are in there. So if I start explaining, and maybe that reminds me of something. I always wanted to start another lecture series on consciousness based on Vijnanamatrata, the study of sentient beings' consciousness. That's a very high level, a higher level of the Buddhist teaching. But I'm thinking about creating PowerPoints. I haven't got time, but it's already in my mind. It's a matter of giving myself the time and key it in the laptop and get all the information ready and show the PowerPoint in there so that you understand how the consciousness works. And there's a lot of English literature on Vijnanamatrata in English. And as far as I can remember, almost in all Ivy League universities, they have courses about this, about the Buddhist philosophy of Vijnanamatrata. There are courses conducted in many, many of these schools that you can get into. Anyway, returning back to what I've been talking about in Amitabha Sutra. This morning, I was talking about the motive of meditation, the hows, and why we are doing it. And I try to simplify into not talking about too technically on the hows to do it. How do you cross your leg? How do you wriggle your shoulders? How do you relax your muscles? How do you those are the hows that easily can be delineated in point form and you follow them. But the most important is, do you understand why we have the hows? How about the whys of it? Why do we do it? Then I mentioned in meditation that you can combine two thinking into one. Meditation is to let go. The Buddha told us to let go. It's easy to talk about letting go. It's extremely difficult to let go. And there's so many examples about people not letting go. People cannot let go of greediness. People cannot let go of anger, of hatred, of anxiety, of fear, of disappointment. All those mental afflictions we cannot let go. What happens if we cannot let go? We suffer. Nobody else. We suffer. When we suffer, as I said, every individual is a network of the universe. When you suffer, your wife suffers. When your wife suffers, when you suffer, your children suffer. Your dad, your mom suffer. Your colleagues. And when your anger is so much that you eventually take it to the world, you become a criminal and the society suffers. So you see how the problem of letting go create problems? Not just for yourself internally, but for everybody. We're a network. We're not just one person. Everything you do, every thought affects every other. Do you believe in that we are a network of everything? Think about your cell phone. Is the cell phone a network of everything? That's a computer approach to thinking about life. Can you think about how your cell phone works, and then you think about how my life is related to society? That becomes very complicated, right? You are connected to everything. Not just your action, not just your speech, your thought. Do you mind your thought? Why you become so depressed? Why do you become so depressed? Why do people commit suicide? Why do people commit homicide? Why do a family which started with two individuals happily tied to a marriage and later wind up in broken marriages, broken homes? Not letting go. You're not letting go your anger, everything you bottle up in there. So why don't we just simplify meditation? Don't make it too complicated for you. Can you, in your daily life, let go of your passions, let go of your anger, your fear, your anxiety, every one of those mental afflictions in your mind? Can you immediately let go from your heart, from your mind? Of course, if I were you, I would say, no, I can't. Difficult. Very difficult. Why? Because we have been habitually attached to things. We have been habitually repeating what we are doing. Remember what Aristotle said, the Greek philosopher? We are what we repeatedly do. So not letting go is a habit. Attaching to things is a habit. Yelling, shouting, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, addiction, drugs, gambling. That's not letting go. You let what the sensational feeling of that temporary pleasure of gambling stays in your mind. If you tell an alcoholic to stay away from wine, it's not easy. You know how alcoholic creates problems? We've got a Buddhist who came back from what? El Salvador. He went to buy fruits. He's a wholesaler of fruit selling. And he was going to different places of suppliers of fruit suppliers. And he got someone driving. And he didn't know the driver had just had some liquor. And they were driving around. And he involved in an accident. He broke his neck in El Salvador on a trip. And how many drunken people kill people on the road? Thousands. It's a network. They induce broken families, dying members into other families' homes. You know how suffering inflicts one person to another? But instead, we better learn how to let go. So the Buddha said, your first lesson in life is to break that habitual chain of not letting go. But it's not easy. And the Buddha said, start with meditation. In meditation, learn how to let go. That's your exercise. And I realize now that there's people in not letting go of their sluggishness. When I was talking, they were like this. Sleeping. Sluggishness is a habit of not letting go. Because not letting go, he's not interested in listening about that. He's only listening in how the Buddha gave me blessings, how the Buddha gave me fame, reputation, how the Buddha and prolonged my life. You have to let go. So the Buddha said, in meditation, let go. Whatever comes in through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your taste, your tongue, immediately let it float out, because when you're meditating, you hear a lot of things, right? When you're meditating, you still smell the fragrance of the incense, or your neighboring meditator sweating perfume. I sometimes have received complaints from you people after a while. I said, this morning I was meditating, and I don't want to mention name, there's someone there who had terrible smell under the armpits. And I was suffering. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't let go. You know, people like that. So I always mention, if you come for meditation, make sure that you take a good bath. Because people have to suffer from the smell produced from your body. So getting back to letting go, so the first lesson is not how to cross your leg, how to breathe and all that, how to let go immediately when you're meditating, how to let go, all the senses. You cannot stop all this sensation from entering your body, right? Can you stop the crow quacking out? Can you stop the car from honking? Are you going to go out and yell at them when I'm meditating, you better shut up? You cannot. So you better learn how to let them go. If your wife has been nagging you, there's no point in letting them, stop it, wife. No. Just let the nagging go out of your ears. From the right ear, go out to the next, to the left ear. The more you stop, the worse it will become. You just let go of that. You just smile because it doesn't affect your heart. It doesn't affect your mind. No matter how people nag at you, it doesn't affect you because you're letting go. So that's the first lesson of letting go. The second is that letting go is not just a mental exercise. Indirectly, it's also a physical practice. Strengthen your letting go by what? Concentrating into one object. Because why we're not letting go? Because we have so many objects of the senses that you cannot prevent. But you also create a medicine here. You create one object in which you gear your attention to so that you don't get distracted. So everybody clear on these 2 points? Actually, it's very simple. But I have another question. We've been meditating for many, many hours, for example, many years. Where would I go? Where do I go from here? You mean I just meditate and not letting go and breathe this object and that is it? What level I will go to? Are you not interested in asking yourself, if I meditate and really try my best to meditate, where would I go from here? If you've been meditating for many, many years, and not only you, we as monks and nuns, we also worry about it. Finally, we all have to die, right? That's an accepted fact of life that is also suffering. We all have to die. There isn't anybody here who does not have to die. But when we think about dying, we think about dying as so remote from us. It's not remote from us. Dying is so near. One accident could have taken your life away. Don't think of dying as something that is so remote. I'm playing my guitar, I'm in the band, I'm singing, I'm getting reputation. There are singers who die on stage. If we practice and we are not like the Buddha Sakyamuni 2,600 years ago, he entered into Mahaparinirvana. He entered into Mahaparinirvana. What does that mean? What does nirvana means? Near is no more. Near is no more of that. Vana is motion. No more motion. In other words, no more desultory thoughts, no more karmic energy that pulls you down, no more of those. You enter into no more of the karma. You eliminate all the karma. When Buddha eliminated all his karma, he was still living as a Buddha. And that is he called nirvana. When we add pari-nirvana, that means he gotten rid of this body and he left this world. Because everybody, even the Buddha has to die, you know. But that kind of dying is different. He died off this body. It's like shedding off your clothes, shedding off your skin. You are now bounded in a prison, the prison of your own body. But we always think that our body is the best. Your body, you know, you value your body. But this body is a karmic body. You carry this karmic body all your whole life. You have to clean it. You have to make sure that it's healthy. You have, when it's sick, you got to take the medicine. This is your burden. This body is your burden. Why do you have this body? Because your karma created your own body. All right, talking about this, we say we're not successful in this world as a meditator. We've been practicing for many, many years, and we are not like the Buddha, who was so intelligent, so wise, and we do not enter into parinirvana. What do? Actually, when you're practicing meditation, there are 4 stages you will arrive at. The Buddha have already arrived at the 4th stage, which is the Arhat stage. Now let me count from the top to the bottom. The 4th stage is the stage where you enter into parinirvana, completely out of this network of karmic energy, going into a state of mind that is extreme bliss without suffering. That's the highest level. The second level is anagamin. Anagamin is you haven't really been successful in it, in the meditation, into cleaning up your karma, in the meditating, into letting go. You have arrived at the 3rd level. And that 3rd level, if you are assuming that in this lifetime you have arrived at anagamin level, what happened to you? When you die out this body, you're not born in this world. You are in the higher level of the world without desires. You continue to practice in there. You have no more sexual desire, greedy desire, depression, greediness, hatred, anger. You have no more of those. You are in another world, but that's still a world. You're in anagama level. That is a 3rd level. And then, when you practice, you could have gone to the 2nd level. The 2nd level is you still have to come back one lifetime, reincarnate one lifetime more into this world, continue your practice, because you haven't been successful. Because you already have arrived at a certain level that you will not roll into reincarnation of the vicious realms. You won't go to hell, you won't go to ghosts, you won't go to the animal realm. You will be only in the human realm where you continue to practice the letting go and to practice meditation, the 2nd level. When you arrive at the 1st level, which is the lowest level, that is a Sotapanna level. That means if you practice for 60 years, 30 years, 20 years, and you are not successful as the Buddha, then you will arrive at Sotapanna level, which means that when you die out of this body, you'll be reborn in the human again, continue your practice, approximately about 7 times. 7 reincarnations is a non-retrogression. That means you won't fall back into reincarnation again until you become the Buddha. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but that's the level when you arrive in your meditation, when you're meditating. And then another 5 minutes, and I'll simplify it, and then I finish. Another question could arise. What happened if I'm not successful at all in the 1st level of Sotapanna level? I'm only meditating 1 hour on Saturday morning, and when I go home, I don't do any meditation. Then what would happen to me? Every Saturday, I just want to come here to meditate for an hour and a half, eat the free lunch, and then I go on to do whatever I want. And then finally, when you die, you have to die one day. You haven't achieved anything. You roll into another next path of reincarnation, doing the same suffering again. And then the Buddha already have foreseen people who have so much karma that they cannot enlighten by themselves. They have to get the help from an external source. The Buddha one day said, for those who are not successful in meditation, there is still a place you can go to after death, which would not roll into reincarnation. That is the land of Amitabha. This concept of the Buddha is quite analogous, quite similar to other religions' paradise concept. In other religions, they say, if you believe in God, you go to paradise, you go to heaven, right? The Buddha talk about this concept is quite similar, except that the Buddha also say, if you want to go to heaven, it's not just about believing in a God. You still have to practice certain things. You still have to practice, more simple than the meditation, you have to chant the Buddha's name. You have to know that Buddha's telephone number, in other words. You have to dial the telephone. Not just, I believe in you, then I can go. I believe in you, I can do all the bad deeds, and on my verge of death, I ask for excuse. I ask for forgiveness, and I can go. No. You have to learn how to get there. You have to learn how to take that entrance exam to go there. And it's all laid out in the Amitabha Sutra. For those who will not be successful in their own meditation at the verge of death, if they have enough practice, the simple practice, they can leave the reincarnation and to go to that paradise where Amitabha is now in there. And that's what contained in the information in the Amitabha Sutra. That's what I was talking about on the TV. And that's an extremely important approach to Buddhism in these days. Because in these days, our karmic energy have been so bad that a lot of karmic energy prevent us from being successful as a current life, existing life Buddha. We're not the same as before. There's more and more karmic energy that pull us down. So everybody has to die. Don't come back into reincarnation again. Go to that university, that paradise where you don't retrogress into reincarnation, and you learn under the patronage of a Buddha in there. And that's what the Amitabha Sutra is talking about. That's the reason why you enter into a Chinese temple and you heard a lot of Chinese chanting, Nam Mô Mi To Pho, Nam Mô Mi To Pho, Nam Mô Mi To Pho. That's the approach they're taking. Because they know they couldn't be successful in this life as a meditator to get into nirvana. They want to depend on an external source at the verge of death, which can guarantee that they don't roll into the prison of life again in the next life. Everybody understand what I'm talking about? So if you don't want to meditate and you know that you are not successful in meditation, chant Amitabha. Otherwise, you get into reincarnation. You do the same suffering loop. You get into the Paticca Samuppada again. Paticca Samuppada. Have you heard of Paticca Samuppada? Anybody who heard of this, raise your hands. Paticca Samuppada. You'll get into Paticca Samuppada, the chain of reincarnation, the chain of dependent origination again. For the intelligence, for the easily enlightened, for people who are more spiritual, what I said may touch some people. They start to do something about it. For those who don't really care, don't worry. You just get into the next life again and learn again. You may go through the same suffering. I think I have suffered enough in this world, and I like to go there. And when you go there, you can always make a vow to come back. In other words, when you qualify for Harvard, for Yale, for Columbia, you vow to come back to the society to give. When I graduate from there, I can come back to the world and I give. When I graduated from that Amitabha's paradise, I'll come back to tell people, to tell people what to do. That's what we call a mission. Do you have that mission? A lot of bodhisattvas have that mission. So can you. Don't underestimate yourself. You can be the bodhisattva. You have that mission in you, inherent in you. Reveal that mission of giving, not just receiving. Giving, giving, giving. All right, that's all. Thank you.